Seeing no further discussion or debate, Assemblymember Gloria, would you like to close?
I would, Madam Speaker. And let me just start by saying I'm exhausted. And I think all of us could use some sleep. Let me try and bring this home. And we've had a lot of folks talk from a perspective of teachers, of former school board members, of parents, and I have none of those experiences. I sort of randomly ended up on the Education Committee and had to deal with this particular issue, and I dealt with it by looking at the facts that were presented to the committee. And as someone who came in with no preconceived notions, I ended up supporting this bill and now floor jockeying it today. And I think in listening to the conversation, and I love this conversation, by the way, I know it may take up some time, but I think it's what we're here to do, is to debate big and important issues. And this is an important issue. This is talking about our children. But let me talk about what I heard today and what I want to talk about, which is, number one, the reason we're discussing this is because the science and the data supports it. And as I look across this chamber, I've seen a whole lot of folks at a lot of science marches in recent months talking about science is real and that we need data-driven decision-making, and yet I think some of you may vote against this bill. And I think that's a bit strange, or at least contradictory. And so if the data is there, if the science supports it, then you have to ask yourself, well, what are the reasons against it? And I've heard a number of concerns around local control. I would say that look at your voter file and see how many things you voted on in this session that actually tells local school districts what to do, and how many of them would you take back? Would you take back gender parity in athletics? Would you take back LGBT student protections? What would you take back? Because we have long established that it is right and important for the state to weigh in when it comes to issues in our classrooms. And also, I want to point out, for those of you that are concerned about implementation, this bill does not require this particular action for 2.5 years. So school districts will have ample time to look at this issue, not from a question of go, no go, but from a question of how will we do this. And so I think the local control question is a bit of a red herring. So the last thing is inconvenience. And I think that's really startling, to the extent that I've heard that it's inconvenient for the parents, for the employer, for the livestock, apparently. That was referenced earlier. This is about children. This is about kids. You heard my colleague from there talk about that the practical, sorry, he's wonderful. I'm sorry, I don't know where, off the top of my head. I'm new. This would reduce youth suicide. This would reduce youth depression. This would improve the health and well-being of our kids. So colleagues, I present you sometimes some difficult issues, but when you're asked where you were on this issue, stand with the kids. Look at the data, understand who our best and most important priority is, and know that we as legislators have to manage change. And so this is going to change some stuff. But that's okay. That's what we do. Because the beneficiary are our kids. I ask for your aye vote on SB 328.
The clerk will open the roll.